Gentlemen, if you're a veteran and watching this, I need you to stop what you're doing. Not because I have something to tell you, because I have something to tell you that your doctor probably is not, definitely the VA. So if you're a law enforcement, a veteran, first responder, any of those types of people that live in this similar environment, I want you to pay attention, because I have something to tell you that your doctor's probably not going to tell you, and the VA definitely is not going to tell you, and they haven't. That most men in your position will not find out until years of their life have already have gone by, and you spent wondering why the hell I feel the way and what's wrong with me. When I left MARSOC at 31 years old, my testosterone was a 91. 91. Not 291, not 391, not 391. I was 31 years old, and I had been one of the most physically prepared men on the planet. I operated at one of the top levels in the military. And for over a decade. And my body was operating at the hormone level of a man in his 80s. And nobody at the VA caught this. Nobody connected it to anything. I was just told to manage my stress and my health. And they gave me 11 prescriptions on uppers and downers and sleep pills. And it's all in my book, Excommunicated Warrior. But nonetheless, I want you to know this. And what I'm going to walk you through this video is that what happened to me is not exceptional. I'm not a special butterfly. There's a pattern, and most veterans, first responders will never hear anyone say this plainly. So I'm going to walk through all of it very plainly for you. So what this service actually does to your hormones, right? What this type of service, what this lifestyle does. One, you have the HPA axis, your hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, and your adrenal glands. All right. This is the stress system that the body runs on during like operational tempo, your life, your operational, whatever it may be. This is chronic stress, like chronic cortisol elevation over years of just your work. That chronic stress, that chronic cortisol is going to start suppressing your testosterone. Not only that, as you're doing that, you're also aging, which is going to start lowering your testosterone just through age alone. So you're just fighting an uphill battle. So this is not acute stress. This is like what your body handles, right? We handle cortisol. We spike cortisol in the morning and it dies out through the day. But this is a sustained baseline of cortisol for 10, 15 years at a very high alert living, right? Then we get into sleep deprivation. Everybody that knows that does this job knows that you don't have a great sleep pattern. And even when you do sleep, you're not sleeping well because of there's operational stuff, there's things on your mind. Maybe if you're a law enforcement guy, you got, a call is still weighing on you. If you're deployed, you're not really fully asleep because, you're in a heightened situation. The problem with that is testosterone is produced during the sleep. Your pituitary gland is sending signals to your testes to produce testosterone while you're sleeping. And if that's being interrupted over years and years and years, you're getting suppressed production. The VA calls this insomnia, and what are they going to do? They're going to prescribe sleep aids, and they're never going to test any hormonal consequences that have to do with this. Then we have TBI, which is when I went to an inpatient brain clinic, they were like, I'm not one of those guys. I'm like, well, I never got launched off a Humvee or never got blown up or anything like that. And the doc goes, well, how many parachute openings have you had? How many flashbangs went off by your feet? How many breaches have you done during CQB? How many gun trucks have you been in when they're shooting a 50 cal overhead? How many AT-4s have you shot off your shoulder? And he just went on and on and on and on. He goes, all of these are micro traumas to the brain that's going to damage the pituitary gland, which signals testosterone production. And it sits directly behind the forehead. And one of the times, me and Josh actually PSO'd. We were the primary safety officers for an AT-4 shoot. And I don't remember exactly, but in the Army technical manual, it says you're only supposed to shoot certain amount of AT-4s or PSOs, certain amount of AT-4s in a 24-hour period. And I think we did like over 20 in an hour. And I remember getting in the Humvee and I looked at him and the insides of my body were just like vibrating. It felt like everything was just liquefied on the inside. And I felt sick and had a headache, and eventually it went away. But there's my life in my 20s, in my late 20s. But this is classic type 2 hypergonadism. So type 1 hypergonadism is damage to the testes themselves. Type 2 hypergonadism is damage to the pituitary gland, which damages the signal that's going to the testes to produce testosterone. So even mild blast TBI can damage the signal pathways. All of this stuff over a long period of year, getting punched in the face a bunch, it also helps damage those. So a veteran getting told that you're fine on a scan, and then while his hormonal signal chain is completely compromised, right? So you don't have to be the guy that got blown up to have an issue, to have a type 2 hypergonadism issue. And here's the thing. This is where I get all the rub, because all of the Instagram ninjas on the internet will be like, oh, you just need to get sun and eat healthy and do all these different things. Guys, there's no amount of sun or healthy food is going to fix what happened to your brain. You get blown up enough, you have enough damage to your pituitary gland, your prefrontal cortex, you broke some shit. No amount of carrots is going to fix that. Sorry. However, I'm a big component. You guys know that knows that know me. I'm a big component of you should lift weights and you should eat healthy and you should get a really good amount of sleep. Fixing your testosterone is just a layer on top of that. And then we have chronic injury and inflammation. Inflammation is a killer, man. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing the Stella Gainling block here in a couple of weeks, to help reduce inflammation on my body. But chronic injury and inflammation, the body deprioritizes reproductive hormone production when it's managing a systemic inflammation problem in your body. So if your body is constantly inflamed and constantly injured from joints and all the things that you do and you've done in your life, and eventually it catches up to you, right? It's going to prioritize that instead of your hormonal operation, your hormonal production. So chronic injury and inflammation is going to suppress testosterone as well. So most operators are just managing, like we're just, guys that do that job, that high stress job, we're just constantly managing some degree of chronic injury your entire career. And it's just normal. But the regular world, they don't have that. That's just normal to us. So the result is a man who served at the highest capacity for 10, 20 plus years comes out the other side physically intact, like we look good somewhat, but hormonally we're just, lack of better words, fucked. We're tired, we can't explain it. Irritable, and a lot of this comes from like, oh, he's got a TBI, he's got post-traumatic stress. When a lot of times we don't actually get post-traumatic stress from like combat, if you will. This is Nick's. I'm gonna go Nick's opinion. Like I don't lose sleep because of fighting bad guys or what was told to us at the time, bad guys. I got more stress and more post-traumatic stress, if you will, from like command issues, losing my friends. Those are the issues that typically people have. But nonetheless, we talk it up as post-traumatic stress when really it could be actually a hormonal imbalance or deficiency that if we fix, all of a sudden we're not irritable. We're not tired as much anymore. We have more motivation. So if you're irritable and chalks it up to just transition stress or like I'm just getting older, your motivation is gone to do the normal things that you used to be able to do normally. Your marriage is struggling and nobody can connect it. It's a hormonal issue. And when we fix guys' testosterone, a lot of these things all go away. And all of a sudden their marriage gets better. They have more motivation to go crush life again. They're happy in their day, and then they're not as tired as normal. Dads are going to be tired. If you're a dad, you're working hard, we should be tired, but not for like no reason whatsoever. Okay, so what is the VA missing here? Like, what is your doctor or the VA is, and I'm talking to the VA, but maybe it's your doc if you're a first responder, et cetera. At the end of the day, docs, medical systems treat symptoms. They don't treat root causes. Like, unfortunately, in America, we are a system chasing medical practice. We don't actually want to cut the root out where the actual problem is. We just want to mask symptoms. So what happens? Depression gets antidepressants. Nobody checks testosterone. If you ask, you're going to get shooed away. Sleep issues. What do you get there? Oh, more medication. Again, nobody's connecting it to the hormonal production. Fatigue. Well, that's post-traumatic stress, right? and a blood panel never gets ordered. And again, more meds. When the VA does testosterone, the reference ranges are completely wrong for this population, right? So they want you to be at a 300 or whatever, or above a 300 at 30 years old. And what happens? You get a 30-year-old guy who's fit, seems good, and he's got a 301. Boom, you're good. First of all, that range means absolutely jack and shit. I might need to be at a 750 to feel what I am, and Brandon over here might need to be at a 500 and he feels the exact same. It's completely dependent on the individual, their symptoms, their blood work. And not only that, the testosterone itself, that total test number means fuck all unless you're testing SHBG, LH, FSH, your estradiol, and everything else. They all work, and you're free. They all work together, right? So again, what happens? A man with history of sustained stress, TBI, chronic injury needs to be evaluated differently than, say, the average person, all right? So if you're technically within the range of whatever medical issue is, for a 31-year-old MARSOC guy that operated for a decade, that's a crisis, right? That's an absolute crisis. And so the references ranges are completely wrong for our population, and really I don't think they should be used at all. I think they're one metric of several different metrics. And if you're just getting your total test tested, you're already wrong. When they do prescribe a protocol, and we get these guys that they'll hammer their doc, hammer the VA, and eventually they will get testosterone. The problem is they will not prescribe the protocol correctly. And I've heard a million different ways of how they do it. One of the worst ways that I've heard it is they'll get one shot or one vial, which is essentially one shot for them. They'll give them maybe 100 milligrams once every 3 weeks. So what's happening is if you're on testosterone cypionate, you are spiking your testosterone. 3-4 days, you feel good. That half-life starts to come down, and now you are starting to have, you're right back. You're worse off than you were. The goal of this is to keep you completely level the entire time. So when that half-life starts to come down, you're already getting another injection, and that's how you maintain your testosterone level. So again, they give you they give you a dose, you feel better for a week, and then you crash even harder. The problem is they're not giving complementary medications like HCG, Arimidex for estrogen, and there's a lot of hate around estrogen. The reality is, men, you cannot have high estrogen. You cannot crash your estrogen. If you crash your estrogen, you're going to have libido problems. You're going to have joint problems. If you have high estrogen, if you're over 40, you could have prostate problems. Believe it or not, a lot of prostate issues in men over 40 come from very high estrogen and low testosterone. Should you take all this stuff? You should take what you need to balance your hormones. We need to get your estradiol right where it needs to be. We need to get your free testosterone right where it needs to be. We need to get your sex hormone binding globulin right where it needs to be. And we need to get your total testosterone right where it needs to be. It's not one, it's all of them. And that's the reason why the VA messes it up, because the veteran tries it, they feel worse, they give up, and then this concludes the TRT does not work, and they move on. And there's other issue that they can't figure out. This is the reason why men who serve their country and serve in a service capacity for the nation, we need the highest level of care, and they should be managed and treated appropriately. So this is a real story. We did an internal survey to the patients at Core Medical, and there was one that was a veteran in the VA parking lot ready to end his life, and saw one of my videos. And this is not a pat in the back to me. This is just a story. He saw one of my videos. He saw about Core Medical. He went off on and this is not a singular story. This is multiple, but this one, he was ready to end his life, and the VA was basically not taking care of him. And he reached out to Core. He got a patient, and he completely changed his life, kind of like we were talking about before. Started sleeping better, had more motivation. Things with his wife got better. Unfortunately, there are people, and we've heard the stories, that veterans there's been veterans that have ended their life in the VA parking lot after they leave the VA because they weren't getting the care they needed, and they needed a break mentally, and they just took a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That completely breaks my heart. And this is a very real thing. You know, everybody can talk a lot of smack on the internet, but the reality is there are people that are suffering, that are hurting, that need care, and they're not getting the care that they need. And this is the reason why we do what we do. So what does proper TRT actually look like? All right. What does it actually look like? So straight out the gate, we're looking at everything. One, your symptoms completely. What is your sleep like? What does your motivation look like? What is your focus? What does your physical performance look like? What does your sex life look like? Tell me everything. Tell me everything that's going on. Before we even get to the blood work, what is going on in your life? Tell me with your own words how you feel that your life is not adequate, right? Let's start there. All right, let's start there. And then let's get to the root cause. Let's not treat these symptoms. Let's get to the root cause of what it is. And then we go to the blood work. It's a 28 panel blood work. Nobody does this. It's not just your CBC metabolic panel. This is a 28 panel blood work that unpulled. We found cancer. We found tumors. We found all kinds of things in there that have saved people's lives because we're willing to do all of the blood work instead of just 4 things that the VA is going to do. And the difference is this is a physician-led protocol, not a prescriber-managed or just a symptom-managed system that the VA does. A physician is actually going to look at your symptoms and then pair it with your blood work in your words and then build a protocol around optimization, not minimum intervention. There's a big difference. Optimization versus minimum intervention. All right. And then we monitor that stuff. And then what is the complementary medications that need to happen and the real follow-up that happens behind it, right? This is what real care looks like. All right. And the data that we've collected from specifically veteran patients that are getting properly managed through a anonymous survey of our patients is that SSRIs are reduced or completely gone. Their anxiety, their PhD or PHQ-7 and GHD-9 depression and anxiety scores, I might have had those names wrong, significantly improve. So anxiety comes down, depression comes down, and then reduction of prescription medications come down. And that's just in our pocket of veteran first responder patients. And improved relationship quality, improved focus, physical performance, all the things that we talked about before. Super massive improvements here, all from a very, honestly, cheaper protocol than what pharmaceutical drugs do for you. Okay, we now have a public survey that we are submitting. We're submitting information to the director of VA Community Care. We have a very good case that we will be in the future one of the community care or the community care providers for veterans, which this has been working on this for 8 years. So if you are a veteran and you want to take that survey, so if you're a veteran, we have a very great chance, very good chance that Core Medical will be the community care provider for veterans outside of the VA. They have our ear, or we have their ear. The data looks very good. So with your help, you can fill out that survey. And at the end of that survey, there is an opportunity. You don't have to. There's an opportunity for someone to reach out to you if you want to talk about your blood work and your symptoms and what proper care looks like for you. So I highly suggest you go do that. Again, we're utilizing the VA's data, the PHQ-9 and the GAD-7. That's the depression and anxiety assessment the VA uses, and we're just using that system against themselves. Really, we're just taking their data and showing how it improves. Okay. To wrap this up, I want to leave you with something before I go. Remember, you signed up. Nobody made you do this. You wanted to serve. You did. You're not a victim. All right. You can be the victim or you can be the victor. But the reality is you did this. We all signed up. Nobody made us do. And you know what? I'm proud that I'm served. I'm proud that you served. For the guys that are doing first responder stuff, thank you for your service and what you do daily. It's much needed. But nonetheless, our body still pays the price. And really nobody briefed us that it was going to be this way. We got to address it ourselves. We got to be our own advocate, right? This is part of life. And most of the men around us are carrying this stuff quietly, and we need to be able to fix this. So that ends when we have the data to prove it. So the survey link is in the description. It takes 5 minutes. It's completely anonymous. Fill it out and then send it to a veteran that you know that needs to hear this. If you're ready to stop waiting on the VA and you want to actually get taken care of now, use the Core Medical link in the description as well. Or at the end of that survey, say, hey, I want somebody to reach out to me, and they will. Remember, physician-led, built specifically for your symptoms and your issues that you have going on. No runaround. We've been working on this for 8 years. We are close, and help me get there. Help me get there for the community. Appreciate you guys. Peace. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. Remember to like it. Remember to drop me a comment. I want to respond to it. I'm actually the one responding to the comments. And if you like this video, you're going to absolutely love this one right here.